People come to me because they know that I love a maximalist aesthetic, but one that is versatile and timeless and can work from project to project, home to home, and it's really timeless investment pieces that work for each client's needs. With clients that tend to steer more into a minimalist vibe, I will show them pops of color more so in tones that are not so dramatic, like blues and greens and pieces that you're not going to necessarily get sick of or feel that it's too vibrant and dramatic, but still elevates the space. A mixture of antiques and contemporary pieces are definitely one of my signatures. I love to layer different time periods and provenances. My name is Christina Nielsen and I am the founding designer of Christina Nielsen Design, based in New York and London. Today we are in my home in Clinton Hill, Brooklyn. I wanted to kind of make this space an ode to old world Brooklyn, New York character, purchase and decorate with pieces that maintained that English aesthetic but also had a contemporary twist. In terms of a brownstone, obviously you have the beautiful bones and character, but at the same time that comes with a lot of work. We luckily did not have to do that much work in terms of overhauling the space. It was more cosmetic. But I would say that the number one issue in brownstones is very narrow spaces. So you have to be very in tune with that and work off of a floor plan prior to purchasing anything because it can very easily become cramped. I wanted this home to feel just very welcoming and warm, where people could come because we entertain often with family and friends. And I think that also is very important, not just in my own home, but in all of my projects. This is my first home with my partner, so I felt like it was great to kind of start from scratch. I really started with bare bones. I sold all of my furniture from my previous apartment, which I lived in with my sister, so it was very much a bachelorette pad. I found this sofa. This is our first purchase at an estate sale, and it was falling apart. I could see that it had the roller arms and the wooden legs and the brass casters, and it had very much that George Smith feel, which I love. So this was the first purchase, which I then reupholstered, which is the case with a lot of pieces in this apartment, just estate sale finds, reupholstered, making it my own. I knew I wanted the living area to be closer to the windows where there's natural sunlight, and I wanted the dining area to be closer to the kitchen. I also wanted to create a divide and have the fireplace act as the divider between the living area and the dining area. When you first glance into the living room, everyone loves the rod that holds the three different pieces of artwork in a vertical line. They also love the antique Egyptian architectural prints over the green sofa. Because there's such high ceilings, it really elevates your eye so you can appreciate the height of the space. The trickiest thing for me in designing this space is finding something that could function as a media console but also didn't look so overtly like a media console. It was one of my favorite antique dealers in Maine. I was lucky enough to purchase this from him. I love it so much because it has the marble top, so it doesn't feel as precious as just like an all wooden dresser. But at the same time, it's very versatile. I can store my tableware in there, linens, plus it hides all the awful TV wires. The kitchen, since it's a rental property, I was not allowed to make any changes outside of cosmetic ones. So luckily the cabinets were already painted a really nice charcoal gray with acrylic knobs. So I really just wanted to elevate the space and bring in some more color. I also wanted to purchase bar stools that I knew were not too precious or delicate, and when I'm entertaining and people are spilling and drinking wine, eating, I never had to worry about stains. So I actually found the bar stools on Amazon, which is another secret goodbye. I wanted to layer the space with antique prints, which I collected on either side of the fireplace. There's 3 total. And even though they're all different heritages and provenances, they all come together because they're very vibrant and colorful. So this is one of my tried and true maximizing storage solutions that I use not just for myself, but a lot of my clients. It is a console that actually opens up in the center to store those ugly appliances that no one really wants to look at on a daily basis. So for example, I have my microwave here, and then on this side, I have a wine refrigerator. I make sure that it's Velcro so you can easily open and close if needed. The garden outside, that was really another blank canvas. I wanted to kind of create a private space upstairs where you can go and have coffee or drinks and feel like you really are in your own garden. Primary bedroom doesn't have as much natural sunlight. It's not just my home, so I decided to just layer patterns and fabrics in order to enliven the space. The main piece that I purchased for the primary bedroom was a set of silk screens that were framed. The office was an interesting space, being a place where I can store all of my samples and office supplies without things feeling cluttered. So this piece was another great use of storage in an office that I also wanted to make sure was organized looking and decluttered. My mom actually passed this down to me. This was my childhood armoire, and it was originally painted in a very whimsical white with painted florals on it. So I stripped the paint and I pickled the wood, and I like that you can see different grainings in the woods, which kind of makes it very unique and original. I found this panel of fabric that I had the upholsterer install behind the chicken wire, and little do you know, you can open it up and exposes all of the madness, but on a daily basis you do not need to see the chaos. I would summarize the end result of my home as something that is very much me. It is layered with pattern and texture, and it's very fun. Nothing is too precious. Every time I come home at the end of the day, I can really just put my feet up and feel like I'm in a cozy English study, which is exactly how I want it to feel.
The reason we moved up here from downtown is that we had this beautiful studio apartment with this massive terrace, but it only had one 3-foot wide closet. And even though I have a couple of Prada suits, which is basically my wardrobe, Fritz has about 30 million pieces of clothing. We were forced out for lack of closet space. So here we have 7 closets. I get one and he has the rest. We're thought of probably as minimalists. We like to create simple answers for people, but we want that simple answer to be elevated and interesting. Our book on MR architecture and decor came out about 5 years ago, and it is a collection of our residential projects. I want to make sure to highlight the incredible effort from William Kluges in my office, who really lorded over that book day and night.
My book I did with a good friend and colleague, Rebecca Robertson. We did it together, and it's called Collected.
Hi, I'm David Mann. I'm the principal and founder of MR Architecture and Decor.
I'm Fritz Karsh. I do something different every day.
They opened MR Architecture and Decor in 1995, and we had pretty much a steady climb ever since. In the beginning, it was pretty much 50-50 with retail and people's homes. Most of our work is in the city where the Hamptons are upstate. Previous owners moved in when the building was brand new. In fact, they bought it from a plan, and it really hadn't been changed much since 1966. So it was wall-to-wall carpeted, which completely protected all the floors, and it had sort of a late 80s style of furniture. Really not our style. And our lifestyle's relatively simple. It's just the two of us, but we wanted a place for guests to come, and we wanted a place for all of our books, which we have a lot of. It started out with my original vision, and Fritz has been able to layer over that. Hi, I'm David. Welcome. I'm standing in the entryway of our apartment. Here we have a little bit of an eclectic mix. We have a James Mott chair with the original fabric and an antique Chinese table. This is a Kiko Lopez mirror. I love working with Kiko Lopez, and this mirror reminds me of a Rothko. And on the ceiling, we have a chandelier that we had made. There was a couple from Vienna who had lots of huge antique mirrors that they took apart and reassembled in new ways. So this is a fragment from a giant lobby chandelier from a hotel in Europe. But what I loved about it is how flat I could get it in our low ceiling space. And on this wall is one of my favorite works of art in our apartment. It's a Wolfgang Tillmans piece. It barely fit in the elevator, but we were able to get it up here, and I love it. This library has been a fantasy of mine forever, to have a book-lined room. We do a lot of libraries for clients, and I've always wanted one. We have books everywhere. I do love this room. This is more of our favorite books. We spend a lot of time in here, and it also serves as a guest room. But the main use of this room is for our books. This shelving in here is all Vitso. This is a system that by Dieter Rahm designed in the 60s, and it is, I just love it. We use it a lot. For one thing, it's incredibly efficient. You're not wasting a lot of space with verticals and horizontals that wood shelving creates. But it also is easy to float these on the walls so that you can clean all the way to the floor. And because it's all in black, it pretty much disappears. Daybed is a good place to read while lying down. And if you're looking to the south, you have this unobstructed view down the river. Two chairs in this room, to me they remind me of the Jetsons. And the coffee table is by a Norwegian architect, and I just love these. We've used a number of them in our projects. The chair in the corner here is by Ayala Safadi. It's incredibly comfortable. This one naturally came in a way to disguise some of our dog's hair because she does love to sit in this chair. One other thing I could point out that's a little small in here is that this tray table is something that we designed. They're still for sale now at Maison Girard, and they actually sell fairly well. And I get the biggest kick out of seeing it in Architectural Digest and Elle Decor.
David's constantly reorganizing and reordering the library, and then I can never find anything. So I had one wall where I'm like, can I know where the books are? I'm always bringing home things. And I also love the history of book design. I love chairs, and I've always collected chairs, but now I collect doll scale chairs, more practical. I learned brushes and combs, and these are these Italian company-made brushes in the shapes of animals. But I'm past 5, so we're in trouble.
We're standing in our kitchen. I opened it all up and made the whole thing kitchen, made all of this storage with the refrigerator. And this is the sink side with our dishwasher. I created this shelf up above. This is Julia Mangold, an artist I really love. I laid this cork floor to match the color and tone of the wood floor throughout the apartment. And I did do the matte white Corian on this side and shiny black on this side. I know how Fritz cooks, and I wanted the surfaces on this side to be really easy to clean. when he's making stews and all kinds of things, I wanted it to be easier. And even though they may be both just as easy to clean, the shiny seemed to be a little bit easier. And I wanted a little bit of tension between the two, the matte and shiny, the dark and the light. I also, in removing upper cabinets, wanted to make the kitchen feel just a little bit more spacious because it is a fairly tight space. In our breakfast area, I'm a bit of a sucker for exotic marbles. This is a Rosa marble, and I just love the patterning on it. The base, it's basically a tube that has been sliced and then splayed. And I thought that was quite eloquent and right for the scale of this particular space. I love this clear acrylic soccer ball of a light, and it's from Art & Company. This painting used to hang in our home in the country, and in the World of Interior story, written by a very dear friend of ours, Tal Prasad, she refers to this as the Emperor Has New Clothes, because in that location, in that day, she could not see that there's actually a figure in this painting, and I was trying to explain it to her. I was fascinated by this because it's actually a self-portrait of the artist, Benjamin Cottam, and I loved that it was hard to find his actual figure in there. This is our dining area. I have the table made out of brass. These are Bellini chairs, which I love. They're called the cab chair. They come armless, but I love them with the arms. For me, they form a piece of sculpture around the table. And the chandelier is one of the great pieces in my apartment. This chandelier was designed by Studio Drift, and this one is called Fragile Future, made of dandelions glued onto LED bulbs. The mixture of materials here is brass. There's a copper armature. I happen to love in my work materials that are what they are. The tarnished copper, the bright brass, the wood. I don't really love faking things if I can help it. For me, that is all about the honesty of materials, and I happen to love the natural feel of things as they are. This is a server. I just love the patterning of the wood on the front, and it's beautiful. It has all these beautiful drawers inside there. Some of them are lined. Really a beautiful, beautiful piece. I have a weakness for tulu. I have quite a few of them, and I love putting fabric on the walls where, again, you're in a more stark environment. It helps to soften the space. And this is actually a pattern that I picked out, since I don't have a proclivity for pattern like Fritz does, but this pattern I like. Right now you're in our living room proper. In here we have two thin jewel sofas covered in very fragile silk velvet, which we are slowly waiting for the patina to turn back to something we love. Between the two sofas are these incredible coffee tables by the sculptor Eugene Han. He really sees them as sculpture, but they actually function perfectly as tables. Behind me, also Korean artist, whose name is Yoon Kwon Kwen. Absolutely love the Zen quality of the work. He basically was obsessed with Chinese calligraphy. There's also a aquamarine blue underneath all this, which it really is a two-color, but he calls it a one-color piece. And it's the penumbra around the paintings that are so interesting. And then I had this bench made in front of it, basically just to make sure that in a large party, nobody's standing right up against the painting. On the far wall is a Stern Twin piece. This was probably the first piece of real art I ever acquired. And I acquired the piece from designing a weekend home for one of the Starn twins, Doug Starn and his wife, Nancy. And as a fee, I got one of their early works. we love in here at night is when the lights are all out, we have the TV on. It's like we're at the movies, and it's really pretty fantastic. The nightstands are all steel, and they're made to the space. I used to have a black fur bedspread, but we have a white dog that sheds, so now it's white fur, not real fur, fake fur. There's a Tulu on the pillow, and then the lamps are by Matthew Solomon. I absolutely love his work. They are ceramic. And then on the other side, you have Fritz's fantastic, wonderful nightstand top.
This is an example of the Chinese fruits I'm talking about. See, there's 3 cherries. It's like jade and carnelian, and but I love geology, weird samples of nature. This is actually for matches, because you had to keep your matches dry. But you know, here's one that's made out of horn, but it's a bird. It's a snuff box.
So in the primary bathroom, this is one of the rooms that I got renovated, and because they're small, I wanted to put in a very large mirror. This is the largest mirror that would fit in the elevator in order to open up the space a bit. And then I use this same black and white theme throughout the apartment, and the back wall is the black wall, but it's in a beautiful marble. And then these wonderful food dogs that I bought at auction upstate. For me, it is the perfect Manhattan home. We entertain, we sleep, we cook, but we have a spectacular view of the city. I couldn't ask for a better, very simple, easy place to live.
People hire Susie Novak Interiors because we really emphasize style. Style is confidence. It makes people feel good. It inspires. But we're also very much about livability and livable luxury and having a beautiful home that you don't have to worry about because you have 3 kids, because you have 2 dogs, because your crazy uncle's coming over and he's gonna spill wine everywhere. Come into a beautiful space and live in it. And that's why people hire us. My name is Susie Novak of Susie Novak Interiors, and we are based in Oakland, California. Today we are in Trestle Glen, Oakland. It was definitely a fixer-upper. There was some really funky 1960s renovations that happened in the kitchen. The upstairs was actually an attic space. It was a very small stairwell that took you up to the attic space, and it was all 60s wood paneling. The goal here was to preserve all the good, old, beautiful elements like the windows and the fireplace and the archways. The rest was really to maximize square footage and make the house more functional. Come on in. You have a jewel box wow moment with gorgeous wallpaper, light fixtures, and a custom built-in to house shoes. Entryways are very important, and we design our entryways for our clients all the time. Welcome to our dining room. This room was quite a design challenge. So when we moved in, it had these gorgeous divided light windows, divided light French door set that brings you into the room, and parquet floors. We know we wanted to keep that. Otherwise, it was an extremely dark space. You don't get a lot of daylight into these windows. So we had the design challenge of how to bring light into this room. There was only one flush mount. So immediately we added 3 pendants rather than the flush mount, and that added a little more light. We decided to go even further by adding 4 mini flush mounts by Circle Lighting. We also actually built in this wainscoting. This did not exist in the room when we bought the house. Then we painted the ceiling white, so you get that brighter, bigger room feel. Here's our formal living room. The kids are in here all the time. It's more formal because we don't have a TV in this space. It's really for listening to music, playing games on the carpet, talking, and drinking too much wine on Saturday night. We specifically designed it to be elevated and very kid-friendly. The rug is stark carpet. It's a nylon, it's dark. You can hide a multitude of sins in it. We always design with performance fabrics, but there's something about a dark fabric or rug where it's just worry-free. You don't have to jump up and run and clean it up every time something happens. This house, given its age, was all plaster walls when we moved in. And unfortunately during construction, we took out part of it, but this room still has the plaster. And whenever you can, I encourage preserving it. It just absorbs sound and it keeps noise from traveling to other parts of the house. Whereas with everything drywall, you can drop a pin and you can hear it all the way upstairs. The kitchen was really a room that was a guilt-free demo. It was a 1960s linoleum, drawers that literally fell out of the cabinet the second you opened them. We opened it up, we added light with French doors and additional windows, took out a bedroom. It's very open. We decided to create an island that has more of a farmhouse table feel than a traditional storage island. We're right off the kitchen. This is the heart of the home. It's our family room as well, and this is really where we live in this house. This originally started out as a breakfast nook, and it's more primarily a kind of arts and crafts area for our kids. This is kind of where the crafts live that we don't want them to have too much access to, like paint and glue. And then our printer, which is a pull-out, which makes it really easy to access. Things are labeled and organized in a way where they can get their own supplies and then put them back after they're done using them. Honestly, my kids use this area every single day. And then on the other side is a beverage fridge. We are putting beverage fridges in pretty much every single project that we're working on. They're perfect for entertaining. Come on outside. I want to show you our backyard space. We did a ton of work on our exterior. We're really proud of it. We use it all the time. We decided to go with turf, and I highly recommend it. It really feels like an exterior living room. Totally, completely low maintenance. The kids love it, and it's highly practical. What's great about this space is you have zones. So you have your play area for your kiddos, and then all the adults are right there hanging out and talking. The sun really beats down on us, and it's very bright and it's very hot in the middle of the day. So in order to make this space that you want to hang out in, we really needed a pergola. So we designed a pergola, and it's custom. I decided to go with a gray wash stain. It's Arbor Coat by Benjamin Moore. Benjamin Moore is one of my go-to paint brands, and I absolutely love their Arbor Coat line. They have wood stains for exterior finishes in a variety of colors. I feel like this pergola is really unique because it's more of a gray tone versus your classic kind of redwood stained pergola. We tiled the patio to give it texture. I love these pendant lights. They create this beautiful statement. I highly recommend going over scale with your pendants in outdoor spaces. We kept the garage and converted it into an ADU. And you know, we didn't know exactly what we were going to use it for, but we knew its value. We went into construction for this ADU about 6 months before the pandemic, and so timely as it was, my husband ended up using it for a home office. We also do use it as a recreation space for any outdoor entertaining that we do. I like to design with a purpose, but in some cases, you're looking more at ROI, or just your property value, or having like a few different things to design around. You know, I approach that as like a flexible design or something that's multi-purpose. So that's where kind of an open floor plan really comes into play. We found this antique trunk at the flea market. It's the perfect place to just store all the kids' shoes, which really become like a huge pile of clutter. Having some sort of bulletin board is pretty critical for, you know, little kid reminders, calendar reminders, and then a place to stash library books and flyers and invitations that you get. This is our actually newly renovated bathroom. We just finished it this last week with this really rich green tile that we did in a herringbone. It kind of harkens to the exterior of the house, and I love telling a color story throughout a home. This really interesting marble, it's not Carrara, it's not Calcutta, it's like this lavender marble. It's a little unexpected feeling. It's super veiny, and I think it's a really interesting material choice. This is from the Four Hands art collection. It's another Slim Aarons, and how fun is this woman who's just kind of like monocled and just staring at you and kind of like judging you. This is my home office, and I wanted a room that had sort of like a French deco mid-century feel about it. I selected this gorgeous woven wall covering by Philip Jeffries. I added asymmetry to the space with a floor-length mirror over here. Asymmetry is kind of like one of my go-to design tricks. It also brings in light into the room. Floor plans that I'm reviewing. I love to have a Benjamin Moore color deck. Book stacks for inspiration, and of course a couple framed photos of my girls. We took a long, narrow stairwell and completely gutted it and made it something a little more grand. It's a very key architectural moment in a house, is a grand stairwell. We added this stark carpet stair runner, which I'm obsessed with. The primary bedroom and bathroom, we really wanted to create a private space for us. We made a really big bedroom. We added a fireplace. We have a reading nook, and we have a vanity, a desk for like journaling, basically. Ways you can create a studio apartment feel to your primary bedroom: zone your sleeping area, anchor it with like a really cozy rug, zone out a reading nook or some sort of living space, and then also zone out a place for a little creative spot, but not work. So it's really about reading, writing, thought work, drinking coffee or tea, and a sense of calm. This is my primary bath, and we wanted to keep it really classic in here. We went with all Carrara. Again, I'm really big on natural stone in my own house. We kind of went all over with Carrara. We put in a clawfoot tub, and we added in a stall shower. We didn't have a ton of space, so we elected not to do a glass enclosure, and it's very calming and soothing. I'd summarize the end result of this project as a place I love coming home to. We have maximized every square inch of this space over a decade to renovate it. We've really designed it to suit our lifestyles.
I think of our work as being bold. I think it is relatable though, which I always think it needs that yin and yang. I think if you just have work that looks extravagant or over the top, but that isn't somehow relatable or approachable, I think that's when it goes off the rails. Or the reverse, when you have work that is sort of overly severe or restrained or overly composed, you don't know how to engage with it. And so I think that is the secret sauce of what we do, of creating spaces that have the capacity to take your breath away, but yet spaces that you actually want to inhabit. I'm Ken Fulk, and the name of my company is Ken Fulk. So I run a creative agency. We have traditional architecture and design aspects of our business, but we also do communications, branding, floral, events, really a one-stop shop for anything that requires big ideas and great taste. We've become really known for some of our commercial work, although our residential and private clients remain probably the bulk of our business. Certainly you may know us from a wonderful project that we undertook that we're part of the ownership team of, which is the Commodore Perry Estate in Austin. It's a 1920s mansion that we restored. We serve as the creative director there. We built 46 new hotel rooms inside of a wonderful inn. There's a restaurant that's open to the public, and there's also a private club component so that some of the most interesting and intriguing people of Austin get to come there and hang out. So when you're a guest there, you don't just meet fellow travelers, you actually meet the people that make up and make Austin cool. Today we are here in what I call the Magic Factory. It is a building that we purchased about 15 years, almost 16 years ago. It's a 4-story building in the South of Market district of San Francisco. So when I first bought the building, frankly, I had no idea if I could actually afford to have a building. So I walked in and kind of declared I was going to buy a building, not really knowing how I was going to do that or with what money I was going to do that. But thanks to the SBA, I was able to buy the building, and with the thought that the ground floor, because that has a big roll-up door, that it was going to be our warehouse and we could load and unload, that I would take the next sort of 2 floors and have it as office space, and then I would live on top of it. That way it was kind of taking my warehouse into account, taking my staff, and then taking my personal life and combining it all into one building. And so that was how I kind of self-justified that this could all work. And thankfully it did, and eventually the warehouse needed to move because I couldn't stop shopping. The staff kept growing, so I had to move out of the building to make more room for them. And luckily we continued to grow and make new plans for this wonderful space. So the easiest way to think about the Magic Factory, it's like a little layer cake. There are 4 floors. So on the first floor, it really is essentially and primarily a gallery space. So that floor is filled with wonderful finds that I've collected over the years. So I've long had a love affair with everything Italian. In particular, these rosewood brass cantilevered credenzas. I've used them in dining rooms, I've used them in bedrooms, sexy for sure, but also practical. And so I'm not always the most practical person, but these actually do serve a wonderful purpose. The next 2 floors are really where the work happens. It's the designers, the graphic designers, the architects, our accounting team, our purchasing team live in that section of the layer cake. And then the top floor sort of is a mirror image of what's down below. It's sort of the big brother of everything, the top of the wedding cake, so to speak. And it also is more of a gallery space. We have meetings here, but it is filled with many of our finds that I've collected over the years. I like to think that a sofa makes a room. Certainly this is a room maker sofa. It is enormous, a big leather sectional sofa. I've collected them over the years. Right here we have it with a wonderful Moroccan rug and this great bar table, which in itself is quite the piece. It has a built-in tray for you to put your cocktails right within arm's reach. Here in the Magic Factory, we have a lot of examples of the collection we did with Pierre Frey. It was fun to really bring it into our lives and see it personally sort of inhabit our spaces. I think perhaps my most surprising and favorite is we have these wonderful Warmly sofas, these vintage sofas that I've owned maybe 15 years. We covered them in something that was a Brutalist collection, which I don't always think I would actually like. Brutalist sounds so severe, but the colors and the pattern really turned out wonderfully. And perhaps the most surprising thing is it's a indoor-outdoor performance fabric, so it's sort of bulletproof. And to see these very luxe, bold sofas, and to also think that they literally, you could spill anything on them and easily clean it up, kind of makes me happy knowing that this is often a party place. Sometimes there seems to be more dogs in our studio than people. I happen to have 4 myself, and we took drawings. We drew each of the dogs that were at the studio at that time and memorialized them in a fabric and wall covering called Studio Dogs, and so they get to have their moment in the spotlight. And I think it's perhaps everyone that works here's favorite of the collection. I have a wonderful friend named Ashley Longshore. If you don't know her or follow her, you're missing out on a very good time. She lives out loud. Very out loud. She is an amazing, talented pop artist, full of opinion, but all the right opinions. She's just sort of love personified and fun. She's definitely turns the volume up to 10. Her work is powerful and really statement-making work. She's been called, I think, the female Andy Warhol for her pop art, but she's really in a category all of her own. And so we had this idea of doing a collection together and a show together at St. Joseph's, which is a National Historic Landmark, a church that we restored here in San Francisco, really more of a cathedral. And so we bought a lot of Ashley's work here. She created work specifically for the show. And part of that was like, how did we do something together? How did we collaborate? So we found these wonderful collection of chairs that we combined our fabrics onto the chairs with Ashley's painting on the fabric with the chairs, but not just any collection. It was all a celebration of remarkable women. Everyone from Susan B. Anthony to Ruth Bader Ginsburg are on these chairs. On my left, Miss Frida Kahlo, perhaps my personal favorite, Miss Nina Simone. And Ashley and I each signed the chair. They're all numbered. We created these great little patches, so each chair has a number. They're one of a kind. And my fantasy is you create a dinner party with them of 4 or 6 or 12 powerful women around a table. Wouldn't that be fun? I really think the Magic Factory has been just sort of a manifestation of so many things that have lived in my head and have sort of come to life in this place. I called it the Magic Factory because I always had this fantasy that we would create this Warhol-like place where incredibly talented, creative people would come and work and play and create. And that has happened, and it is my greatest joy. And I love sharing it with others. So I think when people come here and sort of step through that threshold, they get transported, and it's a bit intoxicating. It's sort of the way life should be all the time when you're inside of these beautiful old brick walls.
I think my clients would describe my work as unpredictable. I have an intimacy with not only the client, but also the designer. And there's really no other point of hiring a decorative artist unless you can do something that you can't find on the market. A decorative painter is somebody who does custom finishes on walls. A lot of times we do work on canvas and then have it installed on the wall, but in general, you're going right onto the wall. A lot of people hire us for a lot of different reasons, and people are looking for something totally original and unique, and we're able to deliver that product. My name is Caroline Lizarraga. I'm a decorative artist, and I have a company called Caroline Lizarraga Decorative Painting. We are based in San Francisco, California, but we travel all over the world. We're on the road pretty much every month working on projects. Today we are at my house in Oakland. A lot of people move to Oakland from the tech in San Francisco, a lot of artists. I got really lucky. My mentor called me one day. He was retiring and he said to me, I heard that you're looking for a house. I just have this weird feeling that you would love my house. And we came to this house and it was absolutely amazing, and we were very lucky. He sold it to us off the market. There's a real creative juice happening in Oakland. We just love it. The house was all peach when we purchased it, and it was very neutral. And I am the opposite of neutral, I would say. So I decided that I wasn't gonna do anything to the house for a while because we just had a lot of things going on, and 3 days into it, I was painting my son's room. In a week, I think I had like 6 rooms already started being painted. So couldn't sit still. For me, my goal was to honor the history of the house. It is an older house. It's from the 30s. I really didn't have any desire to like rip it up and turn it into some modern space. It was something that I really love to do, is to transport you. The other goal, even though my husband doesn't agree with this, was to not make it overly feminine. I think it's very well balanced, personally. This is my house. As you can see, it's all white on the outside. My friends like to refer to it as the mini embassy, and I bet you think the inside is all white, but you'll be quite surprised when you walk inside. Welcome to my entry. There's a lot of things happening to the left, the right, up above, straight across, but we'll start with one of my favorite things, which is a recycled bike chain chandelier from an amazing artist in Los Angeles that I've always loved her works. Then you head over here, and my latest addition to the house, which are our ostrich hedge sconces, and a custom table we had made from the extra marble we purchased for the bathroom. If anyone ever asked me what my favorite color, I would have to say it's green. So this is my homage to green. Every possible green color is in this room. And then the new center of the room is a hand-painted malachite fireplace. The thing that we love about this room is it acts also as the gateway to our outside, which is over here. So during the summer, we just keep the French doors open. My daughter plays out there. My husband can be working in here. It's just a great, very cozy, flexible room. The thing about the living room that we love so much is that we have a big deck off of this room. And during the summer, we literally just open the doors and we're just in and out constantly. This is my dining room. It has a lot of special things to me in here. I gold leaf the ceiling and I'm letting it naturally oxidize over time, so it looks like it was always here. My husband bought me this chandelier. He found it in a palazzo in Rome. It's a Murano hand-blown chandelier that I love for the space. And we hand-painted the walls in a moody forest. I wanted to Take it back a little bit to Italy. My husband's from there. We spent a lot of time there. So it's a little bit of a fantasy about Italy. It's not exact, but it is to create quite a mood in the space. And that area over there is really my husband's area. It's the whiskey and espresso bar area that he basically lives at. I love peacocks, taxidermy. The white peacock that's in my dining room is named Higgins after Henry Higgins for the Audrey Hepburn movie. I'm not allowed to bring any more taxidermy in the house, but I will tell you, because a lot of people have an issue with taxidermy, these were not animals that were killed for anything. They died naturally, and I was able to get them from the owners. I worked with the farm who raised them, and they are my treasures, and my daughter constantly is playing with them and talking to them. I particularly love smaller spaces because I love intimacy. So my dining room is a little smaller. It's very close to the kitchen. I am really into cooking. So it's really easy for me to come in and out and be serving my guests. The point of the space is to feel transformed and to feel as if you're in another time era, another country even. And I think that the room does that because it is a little smaller. It has an intimate quality in that way. For someone who is thinking about doing decorative painting, I always suggest the dining room and the powder room are actually a great place to start, because usually you're trying to create a different atmosphere in those rooms, and maybe a little moodier than the rest of your house. You can take a little bit more of a risk in those spaces. And so I think it's a good place to start. I also think with working with a decorative artist, the sky is the limit. I mean, that's why you hire a decorative artist. Now we're in, I call it a little jewel box room. It's a kitchen nook. I just love this space because we can see our beautiful 85-year-old magnolia tree from here. And it is a small room, and I just decided to go for it in here. And one of the things I think is really important in a home is to have a lot of different levels of balance. And when I say that, obviously I'm a decorative painter, so there's going to be a lot of painting in there. But in this case, I decided to do a wallpaper because I think it adds to the juxtaposition of the house. And being that my husband is from Italy, we have a great love for all Italian craft, and one of them being Fornasetti. So the walls are the Fornasetti book walls that I've always been in love with. And the ceiling is a Venetian plaster. We have a bunch of things that we've gotten in Puglia from our trips in Italy. It's like a little area for my daughter to play while I'm cooking in the kitchen next door. This is my kitchen where I spend most of my time at my house, because if I wasn't a painter, I would definitely be a chef. I love to cook. Space is pretty neutral, but of course I have a bunch of treasures throughout the kitchen. But we do spend a lot of time in here cooking, and where my daughter, I'm teaching her how to bake in here right now. One of the things that I decided to do in this house is to not put a stair runner on the stairs. I think that it's fun and unexpected, and because my stairs are the first thing you basically see when you walk in the house, I wanted something for you to grab onto. And this is a poem from Dante about true love. And if anyone ever wants to paint stairs, it's actually not that hard to do and incredibly effective. So all you need to do, in my case, I just did the risers. And so I took a measurement of what the words, the height needed to be, and I made a stencil, and I transferred the stencil onto the risers, and then I hand painted in from there. So it's a great tip for people who want to do something different in their house. My husband and I, when we first met, we were in Amsterdam together, and I saw these incredible monkey lights. And every day we would walk by these monkey lights in Amsterdam, and I would say, I think I'm just gonna buy them a seat. I like have to get these home. And he was like, no, you're not getting those. And when I got home, he had already purchased them, and they were sitting at my door when I arrived back in the United States. So we have a series of wild monkeys taking you up the stairs. So right off the bat, it's just something fun. It makes you smile. I don't take my interiors super serious. I want you to have a good time and feel free to be yourself. And we've also created our little family wall here. These are all photos of our travels together and adventures. We travel a lot, so I'm constantly adding to this wall. And my goal is to cover every square inch of the space. My son also is a photographer, so I have some of his pictures that he's taken over the years as well, and just a growing little wall of friends and family. Now we're upstairs on what we call our landing, and we created a little moment. I put a sofa up here. We actually spend a lot of time sitting up here reading. We have our monkey lights, we have our shell chandelier, and of course, again, back to my favorite Fornasetti cloud wallpaper on the ceiling to draw your eyes up. One of the things I like to do in my house is to ground the space with lighting and chandeliers. A lot of times I put them in front of windows. I live in an area where I have a lot of neighbors and I don't need to see their house, so it acts as one thing, a functionality, which is blocking some things, but also it makes you stop and you know that you're having a moment in the space. My daughter was born during COVID, and so a lot of the inspiration of this room was not being able to travel. So I did the walls as a little homage to our trips all over the world. When I originally bought this house, this room was actually a closet. So the space is very, very small in my daughter's room. So in that case, it became down all to storage. So I designed a custom built-in, and mostly everything in this room also acts as some sort of storage. With the cabinetry, the built-ins, I even have a step stool with stacking books. It's all about being able to move things so she feels cozy, but it also looks good if you need to have people come and see the space. These lights here are from a friend of mine, Wendy Shan. She's a knot artist showing all over the world. I lacquered the ceilings, and my friend Malia Landis made the beautiful porcelain bugs that go throughout the room. And I think that's also another trick for small spaces is, again, like pulling your eye up and out. So I did a lighter color in here. That's a little bit similar to the color of like a purpley gray hazy day. So your eye draws up and out into the sky. Now we're in my son's room, and my son just went off to college and apparently is not coming home. So he did give me the green light to change his room. So previously his room was a lacquer graffiti wall, very dark, very moody, and I just wanted to change things up a bit. So I now changed the walls to be a crocodile plaster and sort of like a Cabernet color. And the ceiling, again, is plastered, but I wanted to go with the shape of the ceiling, so I striped it so it followed the correct shape to carry your eye around the room. And had a new bed made, of course, but we did keep his neon lighting, and I acquired an amazing Gothic pagoda piece from a client of mine. And then the last piece that I got at a vintage store is a barber chair that apparently will be leaving with my son, he has told me. This is my bedroom. I love the space, I love color, I love drama, I love creating a mood. The walls, I usually work a lot with Benjamin Moore paint. This particular color I love, Smoke Embers, is the base color, and then I go over it with lacquer, silver leaf, gold leaf, and I let the products like drip down to create this moody effect. We carpeted our entire upstairs for many reasons. Also having a baby, it's just super helpful. It's in this stark antelope carpet. And then here are my Italian silk chandeliers that, again, my trick of not wanting to see my neighbors, so I threw 2 pendants over my windows so it could block the view a little bit. We also have, I designed a floating cabinet with a scallop detail that I silver leafed and did like a brass painting on. And then I have my favorite artist, Michael Mapes, who did a piece for us for when my husband and I got married. We have a primary bathroom, and that is one of the things that we remodeled when we moved into the house. And because we have a smaller space, this sort of had to be an everything bathroom. So we did rip out a tub, and I decided to do black Tadillac plaster, which, if you're not familiar with Tadillac plaster, it's a waterproof plaster that comes from Morocco, and it really ages just super beautifully. And I did every wall, the ceiling, everything in there is very dark. And my husband was super concerned, and I kept telling him, you're going to love this space when it's done, because I think there's an illusion about creating darker spaces that you feel enclosed, but actually what happens is you're not seeing all of the lines. So if I had a white ceiling in there, you would realize how small the space really is, but because we have black everywhere, it makes more of an infinite space. We did a beautiful viola marble that waterfalls down off of the vanity and into the shower. We have a piece from Taylor Kibbe, who is an amazing porcelain artist. I have door knockers from Morocco that hold our towels. I painted the vanity to look like, parts of it to look like bronze, and beautiful tile, mosaic tile from Italy that we got from Ann Sachs. Everything that you see in my house, I can tell you a story behind. I love my house. I come home from a long day of work and I walk in and I just take an amazing breath and feel so grateful to be here. I just see like beautiful memories. There's something about my house, I just feel very connected to it. And I think my family does as well, which was my ultimate goal for this space.
I think clients hire architects and designers for 2 reasons. 1, because they connect with what they see, and 2, because they connect with the people. Our clients describe our work a livable modernism, but we want to bring a warmth to it. We're an interdisciplinary firm made up of architects, interior designers, and product designers. One of the most exciting things to happen this year is the release of our book. We're looking at 20 different homes, both homes outside the city and apartments in the city. It's a new monograph by Rizzoli. We couldn't be happier to be paired with that publisher. My name is Matt Berman, and I'm one of the founding principals of WorkshopAPD. I'm based in New York, but we have offices in New York, Minneapolis, Nantucket, Connecticut, and now a presence in South Florida, Denver, and LA. Today, we're in Park Slope, Brooklyn, at our home. And it really took us about 7 years. I mean, this is one of those things where we lived through it the entire time. Every time we had a break or a vacation or went away, we could have some work done. The entrance to this home starts on the street. One of the great things about a brownstone is how you approach it. Not all of Park Slope is landmarked, but this block along Prospect Park are all landmarked. So there is a little bit of a quality where everything is maintained. It was important for us to really honor the historic nature of the house. We're on a historic block in Park Slope, and we brought kind of a modern vibe to the landscaping, and we brought in a Core 10 planter, kind of a very modern material with this incredible crepe myrtle that we planted now 12 years ago. We restored the doors. The doors were in pretty sad condition, and then we picked a really neat color for it. Like most brownstones, we have a small vestibule, and we found these really, really cool vintage signs from a hardware store. It's a really, really bright color set against these dark charcoal gray walls. Come on inside. When we found the house, it was in a state of disrepair. It hadn't really been touched in a long time, but we saw all of these incredible historical artifacts. This lion bench was here, just needed a little bit of love. All of this paneling was here, but it was that sort of dark, reddish, overly lacquered color. So we stripped it down and brought a more modern vibe to it. We started with this piece of artwork, which is really one of my favorites. You approach this piece of artwork on the side. The landscape that's painted on the side of the painting comes into play. The front is bright red, really activates the space and brings some color in here. This is a limestone floor. It's a French limestone, complements the color tone of the house, and the more it ages, the better it gets. The living room for us is very much a family space. It's a hangout space. It is not a formal space, but it needed space, frankly, that looked good when you walked in the door. We were very lucky. We found this incredible vintage sofa. The more worn it gets, the better it looks, and then accented with some more modern pieces. We designed this mirror, which has a really great antique glass set into it and a burnished bronze frame that complement the room and really create more depth in the room. This vintage sideboard we found up in Hudson, New York. We brought in this great kind of vertical moment with this hanging chair. The idea of kind of doing something that was unexpected. One, you see it from the street, so it's very cool, but it's also this place to kind of occupy this front bay window area in a unique way. We were lucky in that most of the shutters were intact, and these are really sort of the typical old louvered shutters that you'd find in a historic brownstone. So we were able to restore the shutters, we were able to restore most of the paneling, and then we brought in a new casing done in the more traditional style to complement all of those accents. Ultimately, you have to go down deep rabbit holes, send tons of emails to a lot of different vendors to see who's going to be able to help you out. Fortunately, in Brooklyn, where there's a lot of historic restoration, you find people who are actually good at this. You find people who can take paneling off, strip it. You find people who actually make shutters. So it's about finding the right sensibility, that balance between what feels right in the space and what you can find. So we have a great TV set against a dark wall, so the TV sort of disappears. Did a beautiful high gloss sideboard below it that stores all the equipment, but again, disappears into the wall. And then we brought in this really fun piece, this womb chair with this plaid fabric on it. It's asymmetrical, it complements the geometry of the chair, and it complements this piece of art, a page out of an art history notebook. So it really takes you through kind of the journey and the progression of art history as if somebody were taking notes. My husband is an art history teacher. He recognizes everything in it, and it was a very kind of logical way that somebody would actually be telling the story or taking notes about this period in art history. So it's something we love, we connected to, and it obviously works with everything else. The dining room is a very central space. You've got natural light coming in from both sides. We commissioned this fixture from an incredible artist. We liked the energy up in the space, but we also liked its transparency. We did not want a chandelier hanging here that was going to block your view from front to back. We also found this incredible piece, and this is by an artist named Wardell Milan. He builds these maquettes with things that he finds at craft stores, right? So you can see paper umbrellas and things like that in there, and then cutouts from magazines, and then photographs the maquette. So there's something really otherworldly about it. I love sitting at the table, looking at it. I always find something new. This is our kitchen. We knew we were going to use the kitchen that we designed for an Italian company called Astor Cucina, which is this particular door style. And we partnered with this amazing artist. He's a Canadian artist named Murray Duncan, who does these beautiful drawings under an encaustic, which really kind of create this fun, almost childlike scribble. People often worry about open shelving. I think it actually adds to the character of the space. I tell people all the time, if you're going to do open shelves, stick with white and clear. So if you can have tons of white glasses, bowls, mugs stacked up, clear glasses, it always looks good. We put an iPad in the wall, and we do this in a lot of the homes. This way, if you don't want to take your phone out to turn music on, you can come up, hit the Sonos button, and turn music on. The family room is, for us, a very comfortable space. This sofa is one of the most comfortable sofas in the world. My husband and I can both lie on it. We wanted this to be a very informal room, a room that spoke to family. So we have bookshelves. In fact, these are actually the metal bookshelves that you'd found in your old public library. The first piece of art that we ever bought. Loved the kind of accidental quality of the text sort of smearing and smudging. When we originally bought the house, there was no powder room there. In fact, the hallway went actually straight through into the kitchen, and we had to reconfigure some of the areas to get it to flow the way we wanted to. And we were able to create a powder room. The door to the powder room is completely hidden. It has paneling on it, has wallpaper on it. When the door is closed, if you're not paying attention, you wouldn't know it's there. Then you open the door into this immersive explosion of color. We wanted that color to be all around you. And it's this really great handmade Mexican hexagonal tile that's got this really rich blue quality to it that's on the floor and the walls. So we wanted that experience to walk in and just be completely enveloped by this really, really rich, saturated color. To bring a modern sensibility to the stair was to paint this dark green runner, which pulls off of some of the landscape art that's in the hallway. And it really directs your eye up to the top of the stair, up to this found ceramic piece, and then brings you up into this upper hall. We've got natural light coming in from the skylight, which is really nice. It really draws you up to the top of the stair and illuminates this part of the home. We've got a couple really great pieces of art. We call it the train tracks piece. And then this piece is a newer piece that we just got, a Cuban woman named Diana Fonseca. She scrapes the paint off of the buildings in Havana. And we love the way that the color just pops off of these dark metal walls. Let's go check out my son's room. Like most parents for your kids, you want the room to tie into the rest of the house, but also be something that they can own. That's something that they can embellish. And we really did that here. We gave him a lot of opportunity here to create his own gallery wall. These are all things that are important to him, that he's acquired or found, or awards he's received that become sort of his collage over the past 10 years. Given the fact that one of his parents is a history teacher, we decided that it would be really fun to bring in a really great mural. We loved that it was taking something really bright, really fun, and bringing it into what is otherwise a very neutral envelope. Welcome to our closet. Not only is it practical, we need a lot of storage, we've got a lot of stuff. We keep a printer in the closet. Anytime we do anything as a family, anything fun, anything celebratory, momentous, we print it out and we thumbtack it to the wall. For our bedroom, we wanted something that was going to be calming, quiet, serene. So we chose a lot of very neutral fabrics, neutral wall color, neutral carpeting that just create a very quiet space. But we've balanced that out with this incredible piece of art. We love the pop kind of hand of the artist. You can feel the maker in this piece. We hadn't actually had anything here during the shutdown, but realizing we needed a space to work, this worked great. We just wanted a very simple console, something that would disappear. What I realized was that when you're sitting in front of 3 windows like this and all this natural light on your face, for Zoom calls, Teams calls, all of that stuff, you look great on camera. This is the primary bathroom. We wanted to do something in here that was going to be both a balance of texture and this sense of being incredibly clean. We found this incredible tile at Ann Sachs that has this dimensional quality to it. It really kind of comes out at you. There's this in-out quality to it, balanced by walls of white corian. The white corian is a little bit cloudy, so it's a matte finish, it's very ghost-like, and it has a lot of depth to it. We also custom made this vanity. This is a really, really great piece that I'm particularly proud of. It's a powder-coated aluminum, similar to the powder room sink downstairs, which is in white. This is now in black, which had storage in it, open cubbies, drawers, and then 2 sinks. I would say the end result of this project is a really good visual picture of my relationship with my husband. This is definitely decisions that were made together. He has a great eye. He has a great sense of style. He knows what he wants. Everything that we did was something that was incredibly mutual. We both had to love it. And so it is very much an expression of us.
Because my background is not necessarily in interior design, it gives me a different perspective on what we're doing. People really like my fresh new approach to antiques and vintage. I think that I honor and pay homage to the past, but I breathe life into new spaces in a different kind of way. I'm really attracted to 1960s French space age, 1980s Memphis Milano, 1970s Italian and French design. I also love 18th century French Rococo. So it's really a very eclectic, kind of maximalist style. I'd like people to enter into my interiors and feel like they're in another world and feel like they're experiencing something that they've never experienced before. But I also like them to feel connected to where we are in the world. Hi, I'm Sasha Bikoff. I'm based in New York City, and I am the president of Sasha Bikoff Interior Design. We are in my home in East Hampton, which is in the eastern end of Long Island. I built this home from the ground up. It took me 3 years to get a permit and a little over a year to build. It's my proudest work I've ever done. There's something so special about being able to pick every single material, every single detail, design everything from scratch. My overall design aesthetic, it's Marie Antoinette at Studio 54. This home is kind of the opposite of that, more biophilic design. It's Japanese inspired, it's modern barn, it's coastal, and it lends more on the simplistic modernist side. I always say this home is simple, but it's not boring. There's still elements of me, and there's still moments of surprise. Come on in. I was able to build a little vestibule entryway, which is a really nice moment before you enter kind of this open floor plan. So here we kept it really simple. We have the wood paneling throughout. And another great aspect of an entryway is storage is so important. I have hidden doors and cabinets and drawers here. And it's a place where you can put your coat and your jacket and other odds and ends that you would need. One of the highlight moments of this open floor plan space is the kitchen. We have the vent, which just comes right up. This is a very seamless kind of modern design that doesn't detract from our high ceilings and the architecture of the house. I chose this stone, which was the beginnings of my kitchen, this was the first thing that I decided to choose, was this Esmeralda onyx, because it really resembles the sea and the colors outside. This dining room is really inspired by my life out here, where I do all my little flower arrangements and where I entertain. It's directly across from the kitchen. I found this fabric at Pierre Frey and I immediately was drawn to it because it has all of my farm fresh veggies on it. Another aspect of the dining room that was kind of the last piece of the puzzle is this 1960s Danish Werner Panton moon pendant. From the kitchen and the dining area, we have the open floor plan living area. This is a De Sede nonstop couch. It's an iconic collectible design. It is meant to kind of curve and move around. So I've always wanted this couch. With an open floor plan, if you're trying to create some kind of divide in the room, you really want to look into furniture that's going to look good from all different angles. The coffee table is one of my favorite pieces. It's also a collectible design piece that's really coveted. It's Roger Caprone, it's French, it's from the 1960s. And it has these fossilized tiles on top of different leaves and branches, 2 vintage chairs that were actually my grandfather's in his office. Still a fun print that's whimsical, that connects to farm life and everything going on out here. And then the fireplace, I really wanted a massive fireplace. And then we have a very organic light fixture, pendant by Noguchi. This is the guest bedroom, and it's done in my Uptown Toile wallpaper with verven, and it's also in fabric on the headboard and the little cute lampshades. And the inspiration here was to create a classic French toile, but updated a bit. A little bit of Brigitte Bardot and Saint-Tropez on her boat. We have Audrey Hepburn. These are actually the shark teeth that my builder gifted me when we were working on the house. It kind of fit right within the palm perfectly, and that's where I got the idea for my hardware collection with S.A. Baxter. This bathroom is actually done in my tile collection with New Ravenna, based off of a bandana design. So the tile actually comes in 2 different styles and in an array of colors, and I chose the indigo colorway. When I was designing this tile collection, I definitely had my house in mind. I wanted to pay homage to classic Americana motifs, and immediately the bandana motif came to mind. This is my den, library, TV room, and this is a very special room to me because I finally got a place where I could house my extensive book collection and all of my objets and curiosities. Here I fully designed a room customized with millwork and shelving to house all of my little trinkets. Custom made the sofa with a Maharam fabric that both has that neon orange and that also has that sandy color. So it felt like it was like the perfect homage to that inspiration. Now we are entering my 3rd guest room, which we call the Versace room. This room houses my 2nd collection I did with Versace for Art Basel, where I designed the surfboard bed inspired by Gianni Versace's life in Miami. The Murano seashell sconces, which brings you back to the sea life and nature. And we covered this entire room in a kind of shimmery tan grass cloth from Fabrica. We put it on the ceilings as well. I finished it off with a sailfish that I caught with my grandfather. Beautiful fabric that I bought on the beach in Punta del Este. They were beach blankets, actually. That's another design rule you don't have to stick by, that 2 chairs have to be exactly the same pair, but we don't play by those rules over here. We were able to put an underground window here that shoots up light from the top. People forget about their basements or they don't use them properly. It's usable space here, but if you're building a house and you're able to integrate the lower level with natural light, you can really get a lot of use out of the space. This is my tile collection with New Ravenna. It's based off of a 16th century Dutch map called Atlas Major, and it was my dream to have a bathtub in my bedroom. And so this was kind of like the perfect art-filled way to doing it. And it also is great because it does lend a little bit of color into this room. My favorite highlight of the room, wait for it, because I had my bathtub here, there was nowhere really to put a TV, and that's where technology comes into place. The TV comes from underneath the bed, fully integrated and built into the design of the bed. It pops out like you could have your own home theater, and it really solves the issue of the eyesore of the TV on the wall, which is hard for many designers. Voila. This is my outdoor dining area. It is a patio and a breezeway that connects the guest house garage with the main house. And this was really important for kind of that compound living lifestyle that I love. The garage is really an extension of the home. I wanted it to be designed just as nicely. A lot of people think that the garage is meant for storage and meant for mess, but for me, because I wanted to create this compound living, I wanted it to feel part of the home. Not only does it house my baby, my 1975 Mercedes, but it's also inspired by this car. And I designed a curved kitchenette that wraps around the staircase, so it's a real architectural moment. This is the guest bedroom above the garage. And I would say the best feature of this space is the round window. It has the best view in the house because we are on the top level right now. Probably one of my favorite features in the house is the outdoor bathtub, which is fully custom out of Verde marble. It's an entire piece of rock that was sculpted into this bathtub. And here at the pool, I created a long day bed. I wanted the colors of the landscape and of nature to be the focal point, and I wanted the furnishings to kind of just blend in. So that's why I chose to go really simple out here. I wanted you to kind of feel like you were in a hotel or a members club where everyone could kind of jump onto the daybed and play backgammon or Monopoly or card games. And I normally have big trays of fruits and food. When deciding to build a garden into your home, you first want to think about what you want to grow, because that will kind of determine the size and the shape of your garden. So I wanted my garden to be really modern, like the exterior of my house, so I decided to do something really linear and rectangular. I created a list of everything I wanted to grow and determined that this was the right size for the garden. This is the best part of the house, and it's being on the water and, you know, being able to wake up to this and see this every day. The final product of the home is really perfect. This is a place where I kind of seek inspiration. I have a repose. I live by the sea, and for me, it's nature that really drives me and that really inspires me. It's the sounds, it's the smells, it's the colors. But I always say design is never done.
I think that people hire me because they really find my aesthetic comfortable and livable. Not only kid-friendly, but also the parents can have their friends over for cocktails. People can enjoy their family time for movie night in a comfortable space, and also have family and friends over for Thanksgiving and the holidays. My name is Ashley Darryl. I am based in New York. I'm the founder of Ashley Darryl Interiors, and this is my home. Today we're in my home. It was built in 1864. It's colonial, has 4 beds, 2.5 baths, and it's around 4,000 square feet with an attic that is unrenovated and has 3 bed and 1 bath. When I found this home, it was in really bad condition. There was a lot of rot. There was holes from animals in the columns, all sorts of paint, lead paint everywhere, had flaked off. We did a massive renovation on the exterior of the home. I started mainly with a contractor who I trusted that did older homes. Everything was still in place, and recreated columns and details from hand. I wanted to make sure that it was restored to what it should have been. When I first purchased this house in 2016, this house was meant to be a weekend house, an escape from the city. Since COVID hit, we actually moved out here full time. I did change a few pieces of art to more contemporary pieces because that's how I like to live. And when I'd originally designed this house, I wanted it to feel like a cabin. The people that had the house before me purchased the house in 1960s. They added the lights, they added the runner, and that is one of the things that I decided to keep as a memory of them. The foyer of the house is a really beautiful 2-story space with a grand staircase. It was a cold space, so once we moved here full time, I did put radiant heat underneath the slate floor, and it literally transformed the space. I added a big round table with a big lamp on it and some chairs. Forever ago, I saw some lamps like this in Architectural Digest, where there was leather cording wrapped, whip stitched around the lampshade, and I went to find them and they were so expensive, they had to be custom made. So I decided I was gonna make it myself, and I bought this lampshade and I sat in front of the TV one night, poked some holes, got some leather from Michael's craft shop, and sat there and strung it along. And now I have a great lampshade that I saw in Architectural Digest. The people that came before me renovated the kitchen with Home Depot white cabinets. It's a great space, a really big room, and coming from Manhattan with such a small kitchen, it was like a breath of fresh air. But at the same time, of course I want to renovate it, and it's definitely on the list of things to do. But I've kind of grown to love the color palette of the brick and the pink, gray, granite tops. We actually had an island made for the space because there was no island. It was just a big open kitchen, and there's like a little breakfast table. The living room's probably my favorite room of the house. It's inviting, it's warm, movies, popcorn, games, it all happens in that space. I really wanted to make sure there was enough seating for everyone to be able to be in a comfortable chair. My love affair with chairs is definitely in there. 2 of everything. We have a game table behind one of the chairs for 2 people to sit at. We have people that can sit on the sofa, and then the double chair is facing the fireplace. And also one of my favorite things about the living room is the ottoman. When you take all the stuff off the ottoman, it's like a chaise and we throw a pillow on there and all the children lay on that and watch TV. I love finding really uniquely shaped furniture pieces that are inexpensive. Maybe the leather's torn, the fabric's stained, and then putting really great fabric on the chair and it's totally transformed. This chair I found inexpensive, this cool wingback chair with this nice rounded side, and then put a great Holland and Sherry check fabric on it. For the dining room, when I was looking up historic homes and specifically colonial homes in the early 1800s, I did notice, I saw several articles and inspiration images that showed landscape as the dining room where people wanted to bring the outside in. And whether it was on wallpaper or hand painted, I just needed to figure out a way to implement it. I just wanted it to feel really moody and elegant and still contemporary and fun at the same time. I also wanted to make sure that it was a place for everyone to come and join on a holiday. So 10-person dining table. The two pieces behind me, they were originally two consoles that I put together, and it houses one of the alcohol bars, and also I clean the top off when we actually serve food, and it serves as the buffet as well. The house is definitely a labor of love, where there's always something to do, whether it's exterior column being restored or a tree that's fallen and I'm having to replace it. We have 4 different bedrooms, each one with a different color, because I wanted it to be a fun thing to talk about when family and friends come over and say, you're in the green room, you're in the pink room, you're in the yellow room. I went to Benjamin Moore's Historical Colors as my starting point. The master's blue, and we have a black bed in there, and I wanted the color combination to be playing off of the paint, so we did a blue, gray, and black paint color, and the whole room is very muted and moody and very soft and calming. One is yellow with twin beds, so when the kids come over, they come stay in that room, and it's really fun because there's quilts on the bed and fun contemporary art in there. And then there's a room in the back with the best view. It's the pink room, and it's a suite because it used to be 2 bedrooms. So I have a bed on one side and a TV and sofa and seating area on the other side. When people don't want to all be in the same room watching TV, they can go upstairs. And then the last room is a green bedroom with a queen size bed, 4-poster bed, and a little green leather desk. A lot of people are afraid of color, so it's just a really fun way to have people over to enjoy the color. The property itself and the exterior is what really drew me into this house. I walked up to the barn and was just like immediately in love. 2 horse stalls, and now has a vintage MG Roadster in it. And I made sure that it was left with the house because it was something special to me. I wanted to make little areas outside that we could all hang out in. So first obviously was the fire pit and s'more making. I got Adirondack chairs, had the fire pit made, outfitted one of the side porches with the big dining table and 8 chairs. The other porch, 2 little chairs and a small end table so we can kind of sit out there and have dinner on an evening when it was nice and beautiful. We actually just put in a garden, and we call it the secret garden because it has hedges all the way around it that were already there. We cut into the mountain of hedges to create this garden. So this is the carrot section. Shishito peppers. Look at all these. Then we got jalapenos right here for taco night. Some more cucumbers and then the different herbs and things that sometimes I'll use, like chive, which is always fun. Smells good. The end result of this project, there's never an end because it's constantly going. There's always something to do. If there is an end to the project, then it's time for a new house.
People would typically describe our work as being a very broad range. We really try to gauge every single project and design it specifically for the client. In all of our projects, we're incredibly detail-oriented. The smallest details make the biggest impact. Scale, balance, we are not afraid to use bold color or mix patterns, mix finishes. Being from New Orleans, I always try to sneak a gas lantern in there somewhere. Eddie Maestri, I'm an architect and designer with Maestri Studio Architecture and Interior Design. We're based in Dallas, Texas. We do projects all throughout North Texas. We have projects in Las Vegas right now, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and in New York. Today we are at my home in Dallas, Texas, Villa Cali. We had been looking for a new house for quite a while. We have twin boys who are now 9 years old. We found this house randomly on Trulia one day. The best part about it, it was completely untouched since it was built in 1971. And the biggest thing that we wanted to do was to pay homage to the original design intent. I started with images that I've saved for years, from publications, from Pinterest, from magazines, the things that we love. A lot of our existing furniture just seemed to fit exactly here, like it was always meant to be. This is our living room, so it's kind of a formal living room. Having kids, we really wanted a space that we could go to as adults and entertain. And we wanted a space that we could live in without a television. This room was perfect. You know, the volume of the room was just a really nice scale, the abundance of light. So we kept, for the most part, all of the original details throughout: the terrazzo, the rock fireplace, the original handrail. The kids will come in here and read, do their music lessons, and when we entertain, it's where everybody gathers. So we have another room upstairs that's another family room, and that's an area where we will watch TV as a family. We'll do family game night. We'll occasionally eat up there in front of the TV. I wanted it to be a space that felt cozy, more inviting, a little bit more whimsy. Another low ceiling of 8 feet, so we did the high gloss lacquer on the ceiling in there as well. I wanted this space to feel cozy and inviting, and I really wanted to take advantage of the walls to display different art pieces that we've collected over the years. Some of it we collect on travels, and also little pieces that just are important to us. So of course you have to have a television in the space, and I really didn't like the way that just a regular television looks. So we incorporated the Samsung Frame TV and hung it on the wall, and it really still did not have the impact. So I found this clever add-on, which we bought on Amazon, which is a frame that just goes right over the television. And it actually sticks right on there with a magnet, and I think it makes it look exactly like the gallery wall we intended. For the dining room, I really wanted it to have a little bit of a throwback to New Orleans. It has this really big long wall that is on the front of the house, again with no windows. And I felt that the space, even though it was large, it felt somewhat confined and dark. So a solution for that space was to apply antique mirror across the entire wall. And we wanted to have the space feel more warm, so we hung art over the antique mirror. We have an original cove above the table that had these really old, gross lights in it. I did some wallpaper up there from Hagen West. We did a motif of birds and clouds, and I thought it'd be a really nice surprise. We use that light all the time. It almost feels like a skylight. We have a china closet, which we didn't even know existed the first few times we had been in the house. It has all the original cabinets in there with the hardware for storing things like plates, napkins, everything that you would otherwise need in a china cabinet, which I did not want. We did a super cool wallpaper by Pierre Frey of a beautiful crystal glassware throughout the space. I went through tons of 1970s kitchen design books. It's a lot of pattern on pattern on pattern, and I just decided to run with it. Love the volume of that space, very high ceiling, it's 11 feet. I wanted to wallpaper the cove with a Fornasetti paper that I've loved for years. We did a very sculptural island base piece in yellow, which is such a happy, fun color. And it really was a way to bring a pop of color in there that would be a good juxtaposition against all the existing walnut. We kept as much of the walnut as we could. We kind of reconfigured everything, and the goal was when it all got put back together, we wanted it to feel fairly original. For the breakfast room, we use daily, of course, for breakfast, and then, dinner as a family. The kids will do homework in there. It's one of the only rooms in the house with an 8-foot ceiling, so I decided to do a white lacquer on the ceiling to really reflect the light that comes in on both sides. A super shiny Italian tile on the floor, and then also bringing in the white lacquer table as well. The wallpaper was inspired by the original paper that was on the wall. It was a grass cloth. I didn't necessarily want grass cloth in there with kids and dirty hands, so we went with a paper that kind of paid homage to that original intent. When we renovated the home, we had original, just simple hollow core doors throughout, and I thought they were just absolutely terrible. So we knew we wanted to change the doors throughout the entire house. This is from True Style. It has a little bit of that 1960s, 70s vibe. I'm really big on texture, and this was absolutely perfect for the space. We did the door itself in a semi-gloss black to really highlight the design, and we think it was a really good addition to the home. So my office is probably the best view in the whole house. It was a space that originally was intended to be the kids' playroom. I vetoed that. I said, no, this is going to be my space. So I created what we call the studio. I can work in there, but it's also a space where the kids can feel at home enough to come in, do art projects, spread out on the floor. We have a wall unit in there that's full of vintage toys. So it's my office, but it's an area, for more creativity, so we call it the studio. So we are now in a room that we call the cabana. It's a sitting area that's right off the primary suite, and it overlooks the backyard with these floor-to-ceiling windows. Perfect spot for Texas when it gets too hot to really be outside and enjoy the area. So we wanted the room to feel very indoor-outdoor. I did the tinting on the ceiling to really kind of bring in the detail of the canvas awnings that we have outside, and also to tie in the black and white theme that we have on the hall ceiling. We also have the cabana drapery on the front porch. So it was a nice way to make the space feel a little bit more sophisticated, but also very indoor-outdoor. Because we have all these big windows on this side of the room, the rest of the room felt, to me, very off balance. So I wanted to do something that really felt more like a panorama without art. So we did this wall paneling detail. It has a little bit of a fun edge to it. Again, the space is a higher volume, so it kind of reminded me of growing up in New Orleans. I wanted it to feel a little bit more like an older house in here. So we did the wall paneling, and then I did the wallpaper mural on the inserts to give it the feel that the entire space was outdoors. The primary bedroom, when we first looked at the house, was an incredibly dark room, even though it's a very high ceiling and a large room in itself, but it was just very dark. So I did a mylar on the ceiling to basically give the room more volume. And there's a cove around the room that has LED lights in there. That was an opportunity to uplight that mylar to make it feel even larger, but also it was good lighting for watching a movie at night or waking up in the morning with nothing too harsh. We do have a set of sliding doors on the room, but they don't go wall to wall. So we did a creative solution there by installing wall-to-wall drapery to give it the illusion that there is wall-to-wall glass behind it. The primary bathroom was probably the most reconfigured area of the house. It was originally set up as 2 separate bathrooms with a sauna right in the middle. It felt very dark, almost like 2 hallways, so we opened the entire thing up. When we were doing a renovation, when we pulled off the old mirrors, we found this really funky 70s wallpaper that was green and white ferns. So that inspired us to do the dark green fernery wallpaper that's in there now. Kept with the overall design intent of the house of doing the lacquered ceiling in there as well. It has the white terrazzo floors. We were incredibly lucky that when we pulled up the walls that were dividing the space, the terrazzo was actually right below them. So we just had to refinish the floor and just kept it exactly intact. I think the end result of this project is a house that we just absolutely adore. We love being here. It's been perfect for entertaining, perfect for the kids to have friends over, and it's just a space we enjoy every day.